Anatoly Moskvin was a Russian historian, linguist, and an academic, known for his bizarre and macabre activities involving mummified corpses. Born in 1966, he was raised in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, Russia, and displayed a keen interest in languages and history from an early age. Moskvin was exceptionally intelligent, having a deep knowledge of 13 languages, which he would later put to disturbing use. In the early 2000s, Anatoly Moskvin began researching cemeteries and burial rituals in Russia. His fascination with the dead and the occult soon took a sinister turn when he started to dig up the graves of young girls. He was particularly drawn to the graves of girls who had died in their childhood, often at the age of 3 to 12 years old. His motive was rooted in his belief in the paranormal, specifically the idea that he could bring these deceased children back to life. Moskvin was so fascinated by cemeteries, in fact, that he visited 752 of them in and around his hometown. He wrote lengthy reports with titles like Great Walks Around Cemeteries and What the Dead Said, that were published in a weekly newspaper called Necrologies. Apparently, this curiosity was tied directly to an incident from his childhood, which he divulged in his last contribution to the paper on October 26, 2011. When Moskvin was 13, a group of men stopped him and forced him to join a funeral, and to kiss the dead 11-year-old girl on the lips. "I kissed her once, then again, he wrote. The girl's mother then placed a wedding ring on his and her daughter's fingers. Moskvin wrote that his strange marriage was useful, and spurred an irrevocable, lifelong fascination with the dead. My strange marriage with Natasha Petrova was useful, Moskvin said in the article. Strange, indeed. He said it led to a belief in magic and ultimately, a fascination with the dead. Whether the story is even true is beside the point by now, as his disturbing thoughts would go unchecked for more than 30 years. Anatoly Moskvin's interest in the corpse-kissing incident never abated. He began to wander through cemeteries as a schoolboy. Moskvin began writing about the dead and taking detailed notes of each cemetery he visited. He even spent a night in the coffin of a dead person ahead of their funeral. His macabre interest even informed his studies, and Moskvin eventually earned an advanced degree in Celtic studies, a culture whose mythology often blurs the lines between life and death. Over a period of several years, Moskvin systematically exhumed the bodies of these young girls, primarily from local cemeteries. He would later claim that he believed he was saving these children from evil forces that he believed could harm them in the afterlife. However, what he did next was both gruesome and shocking. Moskvin mummified the corpses of these girls using various techniques he had learned from his extensive research in archaeology, folklore, and embalming. He used a combination of chemicals and homemade methods to preserve the bodies, effectively turning them into life-sized dolls. He dressed them in clothing, applied makeup, and even created masks to give them a lifelike appearance. In his own words, he referred to them as his girls. For several years, Moskvin managed to keep his macabre collection hidden in his home. In 2009, locals began to discover the graves of their loved ones desecrated, sometimes completely dug up. Russian Interior Ministry spokesman General Valery Gribakin told CNN that initially, their leading theory was that it was done by some extremist organizations. They decided to beef up our police units and set up groups composed of our most experienced detectives who specialize in extremist crimes. It wasn't until 2011 that his activities were uncovered by the authorities. The police became suspicious when they found that Moskvin had been visiting graveyards excessively and discovered the horrifying truth when they searched his home. They found Moskvin painting over the pictures of dead Muslims. While he wasn't desecrating the bodies themselves, authorities arrested him and searched his apartment. That's when they realized they'd stumbled upon a real-life horror story. Countless life-sized dolls littered the apartment, which Moskvin shared with his parents. The dolls' hands were covered in fabric, and makeup covered their faces. It quickly became apparent that these were not inanimate objects. These were the mummified corpses of human girls. When police tried to move them, music began to blare. Moskvin had embedded music boxes into the chest cavities of these dolls so that they could produce sounds when he touched them. Another one contained a hospital tag with the date and the cause of the girl's death. A dried human heart was found inside a third body. There were also doll-making manuals and maps of local cemeteries strewn about the apartment. Police even discovered that the clothes worn by the mummified corpses were the clothes in which they were buried. The corpses were stuffed with rags, their eye sockets filled with buttons or toy eyes. Moskvin said he would watch cartoons with them, and that he dug them up because he was lonely. He said his biggest dream was to have children, and that he'd been waiting for science to figure out how to revive the dead. His parents had no idea. They assumed their son had a hobby of building large playthings. In court, their son confessed to 44 counts of abusing graves and dead bodies. I still find it hard to grasp the scale of his sickening work, but for 9 years he was living with my mummified daughter in his bedroom, said Natalia Chartimova, the mother of Moskvin's first victim. I had her for 10 years, he had year for 9. Moskvin was arrested and faced multiple charges, including desecration of graves and corpses, but due to his apparent mental instability, he was declared unfit to stand trial. He was instead placed in a psychiatric facility for evaluation and treatment. Anatoly Moskvin's case shocked both Russia and the world, as it revealed the extent of his obsession with death and the supernatural. While many were horrified by his actions, there was also sympathy for his struggles with mental illness. Moskvin remained in psychiatric care, a figure both bizarre and deeply tragic, whose story serves as a chilling reminder of the complex nature of mental illness and its potential consequences. If you enjoy engaging content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for our YouTube channel to stay updated with our latest videos.